I'm 87 years old, and I've spent the last 3 years understanding something that almost killed me. There are exactly 5 patterns of people, 5 ways of being, and if you let them into your life without protection, they will steal your peace in ways you won't understand until it's almost too late. My name is Henry Walker, and I want to tell you about the 5 people I should have walked away from decades ago. Not because they were bad, but because they were wrong for me. And I didn't know the difference. See, when you're young, you think people are just people. You don't understand that some people take from you, some people extract, some people are built in a way that requires you to disappear so they can exist. And by the time you figure it out, you've already spent 20 years feeding them with your time, your money, your peace. I learned this the hard way. The first pattern is the constant demander. This is the person who always needs something. And what starts as a small request becomes a lifestyle. They call you for help. You help. That works. So they call again and again and again until helping them becomes your only role in the relationship. For me, that was my nephew Carlos, Margaret's sister's boy, good kid. But from the moment he turned 18, he couldn't figure out how to solve his own problems. Uncle Henry, I need help with my truck. It won't start. Okay, I helped him fix it. 3 weeks later, Uncle, I have no money until Friday. Can I borrow 200? I gave it to him. 3 months later, can I stay at your place for a few days? Roommate situation is complicated. He stayed. Those few days became 6 months. During those 6 months, I wasn't living my life. I was managing his, waiting for him to get back so I could go to the store, feeding him because feeding him was easier than watching him starve, listening to his problems at night when I wanted to sleep. And the worst part, when he finally left, when he finally found his own apartment, he never once said thank you. He just left, like I'd been a hotel, not an uncle. The lesson I learned, helping someone doesn't make them grateful. It makes them dependent, and dependency disguises itself as love. If someone in your life is constantly demanding, this week, tell them no once, just once. Don't explain, don't apologize. Just say, I can't help with that, and watch what happens. The second pattern is the boundary eraser. This person doesn't respect your space, not physically, emotionally. They know things about you that you never told them. They use your vulnerabilities against you without meaning to. They cross lines constantly and act surprised when you mention it. That was my old friend Roger. We knew each other for 43 years, worked together, went to events together, but Roger couldn't respect the fact that some things were private. I mentioned once that Margaret and I had marriage problems in the 80s, that we almost divorced. I told Roger this in confidence. One detail that still hurt, years later, at a dinner party, Roger brings it up, in front of 6 people. Henry almost lost Margaret. Did you know that? They were really struggling. I felt my face burn. Not because it wasn't true, but because it wasn't his story to tell. He saw my reaction and said, "What? I thought you were okay with sharing that." You told me. But that's not how it works. Sharing with someone doesn't mean they have permission to broadcast it. Roger did this constantly. He'd ask personal questions, I'd answer, and then he'd use that information to make himself look good at social events. Henry here has only been to Europe once. Can you believe that? Like my travel history was his to narrate. I eventually stopped telling him anything real. Our friendship became surface, and then it just ended. Because a friendship without honesty is just proximity. If someone in your life constantly crosses your boundaries, establish one this week. Tell them clearly. Some things are private, they're not yours to share. If they get defensive, that's their problem, not yours. The third pattern is the energy extractor. They're not demanding in an obvious way, they're just exhausting. Conversations with them leave you drained. They have problems that are somehow always bigger than your problems. They need emotional support that seems endless, and when you give it, they take more. That was my daughter Maggie. I love her. But for years, she treated me like her therapist. She'd call, and I knew before she spoke what was coming. She and her husband had fought. Her boss was unfair. Her kids were stressing her out. And I would listen for hours sometimes. I'd give advice. I'd validate her feelings. I'd try to fix things. And then she'd hang up. And I'd feel like I'd been drained of something I couldn't name. One night, Margaret was still alive. Maggie called for 3 hours. 3 straight hours. Margaret fell asleep on the couch waiting for me to finish. When I finally hung up, I realized I hadn't asked Maggie one question about her life. I just listened while she cycled through the same problems she'd told me about the week before. The next day I was tired, not physically, but emotionally empty. I realized something then. I wasn't helping her. I was enabling her to avoid dealing with her own life, and I was sacrificing my own peace to do it. If you have an emotional extractor in your life, set a boundary this week. Not a mean one, but a real one. I care about you, but I can only talk for 30 minutes. After that, I need to take care of myself and mean it. The fourth pattern is the guilt weaponizer. This person knows your soft spots and they use them. They make you feel responsible for their happiness. They remind you of things you didn't do or did wrong years ago, and they use that guilt to keep you obligated. That was my son Bobby, and this one still hurts to admit. Bobby had a rough childhood, partly because I wasn't around, partly because of his own choices. But he made sure I knew it was my fault. Dad, if you'd been more present when I was a kid, maybe I wouldn't have had these problems. And he was right, partly. So I carried that guilt. When he needed money, he reminded me of it. After everything you missed, the least you could do, when he needed me to listen to his problems. You owe me this, Dad, years of it. In 5 years, I gave Bobby $43,000. 43. Money I'd saved. Money I'd planned to use for my own life. And each gift came with the implicit message, you're still not doing enough. You're still not making up for the past. One day I was at the bank. taking out 5,000 for Bobby's emergency. And I looked at the bank teller and I almost cried because I realized I'm trading my remaining years for guilt that I can never actually pay off. That moment, I stopped. I called Bobby and I said something I should have said years ago. I'm sorry for the years I wasn't present, but I can't spend the rest of my life paying for it. I love you, but I'm done. He got angry. He said I was selfish. He didn't call for 6 months, but I got my life back. If someone is using guilt to control you, say this: I can apologize for what I did, but I can't spend my life making up for it. I can move forward, but you have to choose to let me. The fifth pattern is the disappearer. This person shows up when things are good, but the moment you really need them, the moment the crisis hits, they vanish. They're busy. They have their own problems. Suddenly you're alone. That was my friend Jack. We were close once, or I thought we were. When Margaret got sick, Jack came by a few times, brought meals, said all the right things. But as Margaret got worse, as she needed real help, real support, Jack got busier. He stopped calling. When I reached out, he'd say, I'm going through something too, Henry. I can't really be there right now. Margaret died on a Tuesday. Jack didn't come to the funeral. He sent flowers. That was it. After that, he'd occasionally text, but the connection was gone because I'd learned something. He was there for the good times, but the hard times, I was alone. The worst part was realizing I'd spent 20 years assuming we had a real friendship. But friendship isn't just showing up for coffee on a sunny day. It's showing up when things are dark. If you have a disappearer in your life, test it. When something real happens, see if they're there. And if they're not, accept it. Don't spend energy on someone who won't spend energy on you. Now, here's what I know for sure. None of these people were evil. Carlos just didn't know how to be independent. Roger didn't understand boundaries. Maggie needed more help than I could give. Bobby was hurt. Jack was limited. But understanding why they were like this doesn't mean I have to keep them in my life. And it doesn't mean I have to keep sacrificing for them. I spent 40 years being what everyone needed: the provider, the listener, the rescuer. And by the time I was 84, I was empty. But here's what changed. I realized something fundamental. My peace is not their responsibility to protect, but it is mine. I can be kind to people without being consumed by them. I can care about people without being drained by them. I can love people without losing myself to them. That's not selfish. That's survival. If you recognize one of these 5 patterns in someone in your life right now, here's what I want you to do. Don't wait. Don't do what I did. Don't wait until you're 87 and realize you've wasted 20 years. Establish a boundary this week with one person, just one. Tell them the truth with love, but with clarity. I care about you, but I need to protect my own peace. That means I can't keep doing what I've been doing. I love you, but this has to change. Some will understand, some will get angry, some will disappear. And you know what? all of those outcomes are better than staying drained, because your last years matter, your peace matters, your happiness matters as much as anyone else's. I spent decades making everyone else's life better at the cost of my own, and I don't regret it. It taught me who I am, but if I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, it would be this: protecting your peace isn't unkind, it's essential. Subscribe if this landed for you. Subscribe if you have one of these 5 patterns in your life right now. Subscribe if you're ready to stop sacrificing your peace for people who don't even notice the sacrifice. In the comments, tell me, which pattern do you recognize? And more importantly, which boundary are you going to establish this week? Write it down, make it real, because you deserve to live your remaining years protected, not isolated, just protected. You matter, your peace matters, and it's not too late to choose yourself. Take care of yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you.